I was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 33, and after doing some genetic testing and talking with my oncologist, there was no medical reason at this point for me to have cancer, to get a cancer diagnosis. I didn't have the BCRA genes, and there was no other indicators in the testing that was done that would lead to me having cancer. So at that point, I was very distraught, very confused. Up until that point in my life, I felt like I was living a relatively healthy life. And so I started thinking and looking into my life and making a few tweaks to see if there was maybe some changes I could make so that I would not receive a cancer diagnosis again. So one of the decisions I decided to make was not to use antiperspirant anymore. So today I'm going to share my experience of what happened when I stopped using antiperspirant. I don't remember when I started using antiperspirant. My guess is in high school. I can remember that I was typically a sweaty individual, especially in the underarm area. There would always be some moisture there. I would be cognizant of what color shirts I was wearing. Obviously, like shirts like gray color would show the moisture in the underarm area, and it wasn't something that I loved growing up. It didn't make me feel very comfortable. And of course, the body odor smell wasn't something that I wanted as well. So I did turn to antiperspirant, and I used it, I would say, generally most days up until I was 33. Now, I'm not saying that I think that the antiperspirant caused my cancer. As I was mentioning, I wanted to make some tweaks, and I had heard that antiperspirant clogs the pores in the underarm, and the underarm is so close to where my cancer was found. I just thought, let's clean it up. Let's not do something that is unnatural in that area. So I ended up stopping pretty much cold turkey once I made the decision. And honestly, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be to stop. I had a big driving force behind me, so that motivation was very great. But I did find that my body was almost like, just like, it's a free for all. Now things are not being put over top to clog the pores anymore, and I felt like my underarms were just sweating more than they used to, and the body odor smell was worse than it used to be. In my situation, when I did this, it was the summer, so it's hot. But on the other side, I go swimming in the lake lots in the summer. So there's lots of like opportunities to kind of cleanse myself in a natural setting, rather than having to shower all the time. But it didn't go away right away. So shortly after my diagnosis, I got a lot of testing done, but then I started doing IVF treatment. So I noticed that when I was going through IVF, it continued. Obviously, there was a change in hormones at that point. And then shortly after that, I started chemotherapy. And once again, the chemotherapy, there was hot sweats, there was lots of different things going on at that point. And the smell and the sweating, more than it was before, was still happening. Now, I'm saying that this is probably three months down the road. It was still a problem for me. As a side note, something that I found was really interesting while I was sweating and smelling, going through chemotherapy, was the smell of the body odor was very chemically. It did not have a natural body odor smell to it. It smelled like chemo to me. And I often felt myself like giving myself a check and just seeing what it would smell like, because it was so unnatural. It was interesting. I didn't love it, obviously, but because it was just like, it was not a normal body odor. I found myself being like, what does it smell like? And is it still there? And it was still there. And it lasted after my chemotherapy, which was very odd. It's like it took a while to get out of my system. So that's a side point. Partially through my chemotherapy, I can't pinpoint the exact time. After about 3 or 4 months, I remember thinking, hey, I'm not sweating as much as I used to. I remember thinking my body must be through its like antiperspirant detox, and it's like self-regulating. And that was a really, really nice feeling. I just felt like, I don't know, more natural seems just like so cliche to say, but it just felt good. I felt like I had made the right decision for me, because now my body, it just seemed like it was regulated. I just felt like my pores were open. I sweat a normal amount. It was less than when I was using the antiperspirant. I sweat less, which is interesting. So I don't know, I just felt good. I felt like my body was where it was supposed to be. And I wasn't sweating as much as I was when I was using the antiperspirant, which was really interesting. But moral of the story, I'm so happy that I made that decision to stop using antiperspirant. I feel like my body is more at a natural state now. I feel more comfortable, and the sweating is less, and actually the body odor isn't as bad as it was in my earlier years with antiperspirant as well. So double thumbs up, I would say, for this decision. Took a little while to get there. Those few months of transitioning to a more natural state were challenging, but it was worth the transition. I hope that you found this video helpful in some way. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to join me for videos in the future, hit subscribe. I hope that you have the most wonderful day. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.